first of all, for those newcomers that do not know us, we are Monica and Albert. We are both Icelandic guides. We are based here in Iceland. We have this small company called Tamarok Adventures that we started a little bit before COVID strike. And we are both licensed guides, glacier guides, mountain guides. We are senior polar guides by the Polar Tourism Guides Association, and we are wilderness first responder by NOLS. And we have been leading these trips for quite a while. We have been guiding, or at least working in the business of travel and guiding people out in the mountains for many, many more years than the company has been built. And our company was mainly built because we wanted to guide the trips that we ourselves would take on holidays, or the trips that would appeal to us, not that the trips that were easy to sell or the trips that were the most popular. So that led us to just craft some nice experiences, nice trips and expeditions all along the Arctic and Antarctic regions. And it has worked very, very well until nowadays. So we are very happy on how this is going. So I'm gonna give Monica the word so she can start talking a little bit about this expedition that we are gonna have on the following days.
Okay, hi everyone. Well, this journey through Hornstrandir Peninsula is a kind of exploration trip because it's 8 days of this trip, but we are gonna be like discovering new routes, discovering different trails through the peninsula. Sometimes we'll be traversing from one fjord to another, or sometimes we'll be just exploring from the beach to a place or to a summit and back again to the boat. But every night we'll be sleeping in the boat again. So yes, our base camp is gonna be the boat, the sailing boat, Beer, that is gonna be waiting for us at the end of the day, some anchor in some beach or whatever. So this is our trip in Hornstrandir, covering some days between 10, 25 kilometers, depends the day, depends of the weather conditions, depends of the sea conditions as well, because sometimes the captains decides to go to other places different we have planned because the sea conditions are not okay for the boat. So we find always plan B or plan C to hike that day. And in terms of elevation gain, it's going to be between 700 and 1,000 meters high. And you have to think about this going to be up, also down again, because the cliffs are super steep. Sometimes we have cliffs around 500 meters high. So sometimes it's going to be very steep in terms of elevation gain. We won't have a fixed route because sometimes we are very dependent on weather conditions, sea conditions, and everything. So there is no fixed itinerary on this trip. So we'll see every single day or the night before which kind of hike we can do, which kind of place we can anchor. So every night we'll do a briefing about the plan for the next day. So it's not, we're gonna just go with the flow and nature decides here, everything. So we're on a hike every day for sure. And I told you before, our base camp is gonna be the sailboat. It's a very, very, very nice boat.
Cool. So thank you, Monica. So basically, as Monica said, this is going to be kind of like an exploration trip. Hornstrandir is quite famous for the people who have hiked in Iceland before. It is normally their second time when they come back to the island for doing a backpacking trips, they normally tend to choose Hornstrandir. And it is because of it is super remote, even much more remote than the highlands. There are no roads that lead to Hornstrandir, so we need to access by boat no matter what. But the main thing that we have, or the main difference that we have between Hornstrandir regularly and what we are going to experience is that we are not going to camp in Hornstrandir. So Hornstrandir along the entire year tends to be quite humid and windy. Um, However, June is one of the best months for going there because it tends to be a little bit drier. But still, like if we would go camping, we would have a little bit more of wet gear at the end, probably. But in any case, what we are going to do, as I said, during this trip, we are going on the boat. So that skips the part of getting wet and not being able to dry. So we can just sleep under a quite nice and warm roof. Um, how do we get into Hornstrandir? Well, first of all, we meet in our base camp in Reykjavik Harbor in the morning of day one. That is where we are gonna do the trip briefing. Okay, there we meet early in the morning, about 10 days before the trip. We will send you an email with the specific time of the meeting that we are gonna do. We will go over all the logistics, all the itinerary. We are gonna present ourselves to the other members of the group. We will go over everything, every single detail. Okay. And then we go to Ísafjörður, that it's the capital of the Westfjord. How do we get there? So what we have scheduled is going with a domestic flight. Reality in Iceland is that the Westfjords are quite isolated still today, meaning that sometimes when we have really tricky weather, when we have really bad weather, we need to just drive all the way there. When that happens, we have a trip that it's about 5 hours approximately all the way to Ísafjörður. If we don't do too many stops, it's about 4 hours if we just go all in once. But otherwise, it's about 5 hours if we do some stops along the way. That it's also really nice. We have done it a few times in the past, and that has led us to just pretty much like get to see some beautiful waterfalls and beautiful canyons and stop in different locations that are 100% worth it. Um, in this case, what we are seeing this year is that the arrival time of the flights would be exactly the same one as if we would leave from Reykjavik with the vehicle in the morning. In any case, we have already purchased our flight tickets for the entire group. So depending on that, on the weather, sorry, depending on the weather, if the flight is canceled, we will just drive all the way to Ísafjörður and all the way back from Ísafjörður at the end of the trip. Yeah, so Hornstrandir, see, if you look at the map of Iceland, Hornstrandir is the farther northwestern corner of the country. So it's just a very small peninsula that it's a nature reserve. And Ísafjörður, as you can see here on this tiny map, is just on number one. It's just south of the Hornstrandir Nature Reserve. For getting from Ísafjörður to Hornstrandir, we need to cross the Ísafjörður fjord, and we sail into this peninsula with a boat. So either if you're joining us or either if you're just doing this trip by yourself, camping and blah, 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 you need to take a boat. There are no roads leading to Hornstrandir, so there is no way to reach this place rather than sailing, okay? The peninsula itself has a quite deep and strong connection with the local communities, mainly with the fishermen community in Iceland and the people from the Westfjords. And every Icelander that loves backpacking, that loves going outdoors, they have been at least once in Hornstrandir. So what you're gonna get to experience is actually quite special. Here in Iceland, we like to say that Hornstrandir would be the last coastal wilderness of the country. And even though we could say that the last wilderness, or there are plenty of wild places in Iceland, like on the East Fjords or in the Icelandic Highlands, Hornstrandir is truly the last coastal wilderness because you don't get to see any infrastructure, you don't get to see many people around. And in fact, you're just walking in, for example, like this rocks in here is just lava formations. just plashing on terrain that has been shaped by the ocean for thousands of years. It is at the same time full of vegetation and full of wildlife. And the beauty of this is that this is one of the only places in Iceland where you still get to be approached by the wildlife themselves. So, for example, when we are hiking in Hornstrandir, it's quite common that we get to have one or two or three visits of wild Arctic foxes that they haven't seen a human in a long time, and they just want to smell and to see what you are and check out on you. Same with bird life. Same with from time to time we get to see some whales. From time to time we get to see also some seals. In terms of wildlife, we get to see puffins. We get to see sea eagle, oyster catcher. So if you like birds, this is kind of like your paradise. All right, boat.
So here is our home in Hornstrandir Peninsula those days. So it's an expedition sailboat that has four people rooms. So we have bunk beds for you, two rooms of four people. And then we have the kitchen and this dining room you can see on the photo, where every single morning we have breakfast and every single night we have a delicious dinner cooked by our captain Sigi. That is a good cook. And also we have two toilets, one toilet close to your rooms and the other toilet close to the crew rooms. And you can see these photos here. So it's Alberto cooking and Arctic chat that sometimes the captain Sigi fish for us while we are hiking in the wilderness. So sometimes we arrive to the boat and Sigi has fished a lot of Arctic chars that after that he cooked for dinner. And on the right photo, you can see one of your rooms. This for four people. So it's a very cozy sailboat and it's very warm inside. Very nice. We have one shower for the whole boat. Well, this is a tricky thing because we have limited amount of water in the boat because sea makes water from salty seawater from the sea, but it's a limited amount of water. So we have to take care when we have a shower. It must be a short shower and cannot be every single day. So we can make turns between us to take a shower. But of course, you could take a shower during the trip. Not just one, 2 or 3 showers. And we have plenty of plugs for charging devices on board. So in every single bed, you have one plug for charging devices. And the only thing we don't have is Wi-Fi or connectivity, because in Hornstrandir Peninsula, it's a remote place, and we are not going to have connectivity. But yeah, we have nature and that's enough for us.
And we also have the dinghy boat for doing landings from the boat, because of course there are no harbors or ports in Hornstrandir. So for disembarking, we need to go on the dinghy. The crew, it's made of one captain, one first mate, and two sailors. Captain, normally we have Sigi and Anuka, that they're a couple. So what we have had on the last trips is that normally it's either one of them or both of them on the same trip. We love when both of them are on the boat, because they're just working both as captain and first mate, and at the same time they also have the kids on board. The two girls who have been born and raised pretty much on this sailboat, and they are just like tons of fun and kind of like a very special part of each trip, because they are very used to be around people who come to Hornstrandir for skiing or going to Greenland for hiking, backpacking, skiing, kayaking, etc. If we have just one of them, we will have one first mate as well. Over the last few years, we have had so many that it's pretty much impossible to tell you who is going to be. And then we have two sailors, two people in charge of the safety on board, that it's ourselves, Monica and I, that we will act as sailors. We are part of the crew. What it's very important to understand is that while we are on the ocean, the last word, the last decision, it's Siki's or Anuka's. The captain has the last word every single time on every decision that is taken about where the boat is going and what are we going to do. If it's in terms of safety, like the boat needs to move from this anchorage to that one at 5 a.m., we will do it because of safety and they will take the decision. All right. All the meals are included from the evening of day one. So the very first moment that we arrive in Ísafjörður and we just board the ship, we will do our first dinner all together on board. And then till the lunch of day 7 and the breakfast of day 8. And that might sound like a little bit of weird statement, like to lunch of day 7 till breakfast of day 8. And the reason it's simple. We will arrive on day 7, on the evening of day 7 into Ísafjörður, and then we will go for a final dinner all together to a local restaurant that it's very famous, really good, and amazingly tasty, you'll see. And then the breakfast on day 8 before we leave back to Reykjavik. It's also included on the trip. It will be held on the boat. Okay. Alcoholic drinks are not included. This is very important, and we don't know if you know, but in Iceland we have kind of like a very strong regulation about alcohol. I will talk about it in just a minute. And then we have breakfast and dinner on board every single day, and then lunch on the way, and maybe some snacks when we come back from hiking. So let's say that we wake up in the morning, we have breakfast, we get ready, we disembark, we go hiking, have lunch on the way, we have lunch up in the mountains or in a bay or in something beautiful, and then we have dinner upon arrival to the boat. If we arrive late, if we arrive a little bit earlier, we can have some snacks before dinner or while Siki is cooking dinner. As Monica said, Sigi is a fantastic cook. Anuka, it's an amazing cook as well, and her specialties are desserts and bread. And we kind of like dream with this part of the trip every single time that we do presentations about either Greenland or Hornstrandir, just because of the food is just great on this boat. But yeah, and then sometimes either me or Monica or both of us at the same time, we just cook something. There are a few dishes that they really enjoy when we cook. As I said, alcohol is not included on the trip. The reason behind this is that in Iceland we do have the alcoholic beverages being sold in specialized stores. They have quite high prices because of importing taxes. Um, and then because of the alcohol taxes. So alcohol tends to be quite more expensive than in other countries. So if you would like to enjoy a beer, a drink, a wine after a very long day enjoying outdoors and hiking, please purchase it in the duty free upon arrival in Keflavik International Airport, upon arrival in Iceland, or upon arrival in Reykjavik, you can go to the Wimbledon store, or if we arrive with enough time into Ísafjörður, you can do it there. If it happens that we take the domestic flight, finally, you can put those alcoholic beverages inside your luggage and it will be checked in. Okay. If you if we end up just going on the bus or on the vehicle and you haven't had time to just purchase any alcohol and you would like to purchase a few beers, you can let us know, and there are a few towns on the way that we can stop at and you can just purchase in there. Okay, but it's not a problem. So upon arrival in Iceland, if you have your drinks that you would like to bring on the boat, you can check those and bring them all the way from Reykjavik to Ísafjörður, no matter the way we go there. Very important, you can drink on the boat as long as we are not sailing, just for safety. All right. So at the moment we start sailing, the moment the boat is moving, alcohol, drinking alcohol or any kind of alcoholic beverages, it's absolutely forbidden, just for safety. And doing against this rule, it will just mean the termination of the trip for the person that has done this. All right. We hope you can understand. It's a very serious matter to be drunk on board a ship that it's moving, or drinking alcohol on board a ship that is moving, a sailboat that is moving. Then, as I was saying, the last dinner in Ísafjörður is not included, but it's already booked, and we are going to go all together into this very famous restaurant that it's called Tjöruhúsið. That what they make, it's like these big pans on the side, all with fish, vegetables, the catch of the day, everything is fresh, and it feels, or it's a little bit more like a buffet. So you go there, you serve as much fish and vegetables and tons of, sometimes they have rice, sometimes they have potatoes, as you want, and you just keep eating as much as you want and can, pretty much. We believe that it's a really good way of finishing the trip before heading to Reykjavik. So this will be the last dinner on day 7, and then on day 8 we head back to the city. All right.
So about the requirements on this trip, well, of course, it's not an easy hike, and you have to be able to hike 20 kilometers, that is 13 miles, during several days in a row. So carrying also your day pack. The good thing, it is a day pack, so you only has to carry water, the snacks, or your sandwich for the day for lunch, and then your clothes, waterproof clothes, and well, this kind of thing. But it's not a heavy backpack, so that's a good thing. And elevation gains is, as I told you before, between until 1,000 meters or 900 meters high. That is 2,950 feet. And of course, we are going to live in a sailboat. So that's a very small space inside sometimes. So we are 4 people in a room with our luggage, and we have to be able to respect the others, the space. We can make turns for going to toilet, or for going to a shower, or for changing clothes in the room, or whatever. So sometimes we are a team. So sometimes we know it's not easy to share all the facilities and inside the boat, but it's a very important thing to have in mind, because it makes everything easier during the day or the night, or while we are inside the boat. And of course, you have to be able to be flexible, and able to adapt if we have change of plans, because we were talking that we don't have a fixed route. So sometimes we have to change plans. Sometimes maybe we have a briefing in the night to tell you about the next day, and we tell you, we are gonna go this place, but the next morning maybe she finds that, or Anuka finds other place better, or better place, or because the sea is not in good conditions for the place we thought the night before, so we change plan. So it's very important that you are flexible, and we always say that it doesn't matter where we go. The thing is, we can do something, some hike, some new adventure that day. So that's the important thing, and that's the adventure. And about weather conditions, well, Alberto and I we were talking about this a little bit now, but everything depends on weather conditions, especially in Hornstrandir, because we are far away in the northwest and very exposed to the sea and to the winds. So some days we have foggy conditions or sunny days or rainy days or windy days. So you have to be ready for every kind of weather. The good thing, we have the boat, we can dry shoes, clothes, and we can sleep warm in our beds. And if the weather is bad during the day, we have the sailboat that is very cozy, and that's it. And if we have sunny conditions, we are going to enjoy a lot because for Hornstrandir, the month of June is basically the summer there. July and August is more rainy, so this is the best window to go for going to Hornstrandir. So, well, sunny days we'll enjoy a lot.
Regarding gear, as Monica said, we are going to have kind of like a little bit of all kinds of conditions. Um, be ready for everything means be ready for everything, literally. We might get, as Monica said, rainy days, we might get sunny days, we might get um, rainy conditions, foggy conditions, everything. And it can be quite cold during the nights, can be quite warm during the days. So it's better to have a little bit of everything. So dressing by layers, it's extremely, extremely important. Uh, when you book the trip, we have sent you a gear list that you should follow in order to be prepared. Remember to bring your swimsuit. You might be able to do some polar plunge if you want from the boat, from the sailboat, and jump into the ocean. You will need to bring your hiking poles. You will need to bring hiking boots, of course. And then we might have some river crossings that we will talk about that in a little bit. And then for that, we always recommend bringing some kind of sandals. Ideally, I always like to recommend bring something that dries fast and that you can always, some kind of footwear that dries fast and that you can always use as a, let's say, camp shoe or boat shoe for being indoors. For example, some kind of Crocs, that kind of shoe. It's quite nice because of the material they're made of. They dry pretty fast. You can use them for crossing rivers, and by the time that we go back to the boat, if they're still a little bit wet, you just pass a small towel and they are dry in a minute, and then you can use them. Then remember the pictures that we show you before of the different cabins that we have on board. As you could see, the space inside the boat is limited, meaning that you need to bring kind of like nice and not too huge duffel bags. If you have questions about the duffel bag that you have, if it will work out or not, just let us know. The ones that we personally use are those kinds of duffel bags, the Patagonia. I think they're like 30 liters or 40 liters or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, plus a hiking backpack. All right. So normally when we are not hiking, we have the duffel bag under the bed and the backpack on the bed or on the side. But at least we are not taking a lot of gear. Things. Remember that you're going into a boat, into a sailboat, better said. So things like suitcases with tiny wheels are much more difficult to both move around the boat and to just transport down and to place it and to find a proper place inside the boat or inside your room to leave it afterwards. So it's always good to have something that it's a little bit flexible, like a duffel bag. If you prefer to come just with a hiking backpack, you can also do that. We have had people doing that, and then they just leave part of their clothing on their bed on dry bags and stuff like that. But again, as I said, we've sent you all a gear list. If you have not received it, check again your email, and if still you are not able to find it, please send us an email or a WhatsApp message, and we will be able to send it to you right away. Okay. What else? The wildlife in Hornstrandir. As I said before, wildlife in Hornstrandir tends to come quite close to us. In particular, the Arctic foxes. They tend to be very curious about humans. The most important part of our interaction with them is not to disturb. As it happens in every place where we go, we always leave a footprint. It is impossible nowadays not to leave a footprint when you are going into some place, not to leave a trace. It's very, very difficult. But what we want to do is minimize the impact we can have into this wildlife. So even though an Arctic fox or a puffin might approach to us, or some bird life might approach to us, it is very important for us not to interact back with them, not to touch them, not to feed them, because otherwise they get very used to humans, and that can be a problem for them in the future. So while in Hornstrandir, enjoy these encounters with the wildlife without disturbing them. Okay. And what to expect about this trip, Monica?
We're gonna spend, well, a lot of things, but first of all, a great adventure. So in terms of dynamics or daily routine, it's gonna be like usually 8 a.m. We are gonna meet for breakfast in dining room, and after that we'll go for the hike. And when we come back, always is around 5, between 5 and 6, or sometimes before 4 or 5 p.m. So usually dinner is around 7:30, 8 p.m. And sometimes when we arrive, if it's not too late, we have some appetizers because Siggy and Anuka, they prepare for us something before dinner, because usually we come back to the boat very hungry. And they always prepare something delicious for us. And but this is not a fixed rule. Some days, if we have a long hike and we have difficult conditions in rivers or difficult conditions in the terrain, maybe we can arrive a little bit late to the boat, to beer. So sometimes dinner can be 8:30 in these cases, but usually it's between 7:30 and 8 p.m. Continuing with dynamics, some days we can be focused more on hiking, full day hiking, because the conditions are very good, or because the conditions are a little bit rainy, but it's not so much, and we have a beautiful hike. So full hiking that day. Other days is just full sailing, because we need to go to a place for the next morning where we are going to do another amazing hike. So we need that day for sailing to arrive there, to arrive to the location. So those days are going to be more sailing days, but also beautiful, because usually we sail through along the coast so we can see the fjords, and it's a fantastic view from the boat, from deck. If the day is good, you can be on deck enjoying the sun. And if the day is so-so, you can stay a little bit on deck. You can go down a little bit too. So it's a different day, but also we enjoy a lot sailing days. And sometimes if the weather is super bad, or we are sailing, or sailing is gonna be longer than usual, or longer than expected, we have to stay on board. So it's a full standby. So usually that days we can rest a little bit more, we can take a nap, or playing games inside, this kind of things. And ideally, it's gonna be a combination of everything, but it depends, as we told you before, it depends the weather, it depends the sea conditions.
Cool. So, as I was mentioning before, we might have river crossings from time to time. It will mainly depend on the trails that we are taking. and each river will depend on the different depths that we might encounter. So depending on the place where we are heading, we might have like very wide river crossings, such as this one. However, depending on the time of the day, it can be really, really deep, or it can be not as deep as, for example, what we are seeing here on the picture, that it's just below the knees, but sometimes it can be up to the waist. So the idea would be to just try to avoid getting on the time that it's up to the waist. We'll see. It depends on the how fast we are hiking there. So the steps to follow when it comes to a little bit of a river crossing, those who have come with us to Iceland or Greenland in the past, you might have already experienced this. So you wait until your guide has crossed to the other side, then you wait until your guide has told you how to cross, and then you get ready to cross. And either if we get to say, okay, it's quite easy, you can just go by yourself, like in this picture, or we tell you, hey, find your body and do this body system that we talk always about, when you just link to your partner or another person from the group with your arms, and you just cross straight till where the guide is. And then on the other side, you warm up, you change, and if the river cannot be crossed, of course, we will need to be a little bit flexible and either do a little bit of extra kilometers, and we will just talk to the boat and say like, hey, can you pick us up in a different location rather than the one that we plan? And if it's possible, we will get there. And if not, well, we will need to do, as I said, a little bit of extra distance. Um, as Monica said before, expect long and short hikes, very different terrain. Expect rocky, icy, and very uneven terrain, as the one that you can see here in the picture. Expect steep hikes and non-existent trails many times, but expect a very nice and epic adventure. Okay, it's going to be very different to what you've seen from Iceland in the past, or what is normally shown on social media, what is normally shown on travel magazines. This is, as I said before, the last coastal wilderness in Iceland. So it's a very special place and a very, very stunning location. And then just to conclude a little bit of this part, we always say the same, like the weather and the sea swell don't limit or interrupt the adventure, don't limit or interrupt the trip itself. They define and shape it. The good thing of having a boat, as Monica mentioned before, is that if it's like horrible weather, we don't need to do that trail that we had in mind. We can just sail somewhere else and do something different to take advantage of the day. Okay. So then we did get a lot of questions from you folks over the last few days. So first question that we got, it's what are the size and dimension limits for duffel bag? Um, so there are not like specific limits, I would say, for your duffel bag, because we can always, if it doesn't fit under the bed, it will fit on top of the bed while we are not, while we are hiking. So when you're not on your room, and otherwise it will need to stay on the middle of the room. So it is never ideal that that happens, that you need to just leave your duffel bag in the middle of the room during the night, because if someone wants to go to the toilet, might just step on top of your duffel bag, right? So we would say that about 30 to 40 liters duffel bags, those are perfect sizes. Normally tend to be something like this, approximately. And under the bed, you have a little bit of space, but let's say that you have what, about like half a meter of space, so you can just place your duffel bag underneath your bed. In terms of weight, we don't have any limit for the boat itself, but we do have limit for the plane. So just think about this as if you would, even if it's a domestic plane and it's quite small, has the same limits as a commercial international plane. All right. So maximum, I do believe that it's 20 kilos. That, I mean, if you bring 20 kilos on on clothing and luggage to 8 days might be a little bit too much for a duffel bag, trust me. Uh, what are my chances of getting seasick? Shall I bring Dramamine or patches? Chances are always there. You can get seasick. People get seasick quite often when sailing around Iceland. However, main difference, for example, from the trip that we do in East Greenland is that in Greenland we are always inside narrow fjords. The first part of the trip here in Hornstrandir, we are gonna be inside the Isafjordur fjord until we get into Hesteyri. But then after that, we are gonna just start going into small coves over and over, but for getting from Cove A to Cove B, for example, or Bay A to Bay B, we need to go out into the open ocean and then inside again. So the idea that we have, or the idea that we always like to do with this trip is the sailboat goes out into the open ocean while we're hiking. So the chances of getting seasick are less common than if we are just sailing all the time around. However, it might happen, as Monica said before, that we are not able to do a hike in the place that we have thought or that we have planned before. So we might need to just sail on the open ocean and then get to the next bay or the next cove to be able to do a different hike. In that case, you might be getting a little bit seasick. So having the Dramamine or the patches are always a great idea. If you don't use it, perfect. If you need to use them, perfect as well. You just use them and you just stay on the safe side. Always remember to take them at least, we would say, minimum 30 minutes before start sailing. So 1 hour would be perfect. Will kayaking be part of the trip? This is one of the big main differences with Greenland, for example. So in Hornstrandir, we will do kayaking only when the weather conditions are perfect and when we are stopped in a cove or a bay. In that case, we can go kayaking, but we will not go kayaking on the open ocean because of the swell and the currents around Hornstrandir are very strong, okay? And it can be dangerous in some places. And the cliffs near Hornstrandir are just full of sharp rocks, so we don't want to take anyone into a dangerous position. So we will only do kayaking when it's possible and when it's safe. The range of temperatures that we will be trekking in, it's, if I'm not mistaken, during June, during that specific period of time that we are going to be in June, is between 5 Celsius and let's say a little bit higher than 10 Celsius. So maybe 12, 13 Celsius. So that will be in Fahrenheit, because here in Iceland we just use Celsius, as you know, would be between 41 Fahrenheit to 53, 54 Fahrenheit. So it is not cold, but it's not extremely warm. It's what we like to say the perfect hiking temperature. Okay. Then, of course, you see in this picture, this is a picture from a few years ago from Anuka just crossing one mountain pass in Hornstrandir in June that was still full of snow. It also depends on how much snow has the winter left behind. For example, this winter has been quite modest until a month ago that we got a lot of snow everywhere, and now we have very little snow up in the mountains. So we expect less snow on the upcoming weeks. And probably we are going to find a little bit of snow up on the fjords, but not so much. Do we need to bring our own sleeping bag and pillow? No. So in the boat, you have all the bed clothing, you have duvets, you have everything, linens, everything. And then you have the pillows and the pillow covers as well. So you do not need to bring your own sleeping bag or pillow at all. We got you covered there. Okay. And what do you mean that our insurance needs to cover helicopter rescue? So, just to give you a little bit of an explanation how things work here in Iceland. As long as a search and rescue operation it's done by the search and rescue teams, then normally they have access to places both by ground and by boat. Then it's free of charge. So if you get injured in the mountains and they send a search and rescue team to take you out of Hornstrandir and they take you into the hospital in Ísafjörður by boat because it's not serious, then it's free of charge. You might need to pay for the medical treatment on the hospital though. However, if it's something serious that you need to be evacuated by a helicopter all the way from Hornstrandir into Ísafjörður Hospital or Reykjavik's hospital, then they do not employ what the services they would have, like for example the boats or the teams on the ground. They would need to employ the Coast Guard helicopter. And in that case, if you need to request a helicopter rescue and they use the Coast Guard helicopter, you might get a fine at the end of the trip when you get back home that it's going to be very expensive. And when I'm saying very expensive, I'm talking about easily between 15 to 20,000 US dollars. Okay. These rescues by helicopter are not cheap, and you really, really want your insurance to cover you. Now it comes to a quite tricky part of what insurance to choose and what the insurance should cover. So there's something that insurances do that it's quite risky always, that they say, we cover all kinds of rescue, including helicopter rescue and all expenses, as long as you have called us first. So if it's a life-threatening situation and you just, let's say, you're just hiking with your group and suddenly you have a very strong chest pain, or for example, you just fall and you hit your head, the guide is not going to call to your insurance first. The guide is going to take care of your health and it's going to do the fastest thing to save your life. That it's going to be calling to the search and rescue teams or 112 emergencies, and they are going to send a helicopter right away. Why I'm saying this? Because you need to make sure that your insurance says that as long as you inform them in the earliest time as possible, it is, they will cover the helicopter rescue. For example, me and the guide, you had a problem that it's serious, that is life-threatening, that we cannot put a third agent or third actor into this conversation, as the insurance, for example. And I called directly to the 112 emergency services in Iceland. They send a helicopter. You get taken by the helicopter, you fly all the way to Reykjavik, and once you arrive in there with the guides, or you, if you're conscious, you have already called to the insurance, they will cover. If we don't call, or you say, yeah, I will call as soon as I get home, and they will pay for the bill, they will not cover at all, okay, for your expenses. So it's always important to keep them updated, but not to call them if it's a life-threatening situation on the first place, because by doing that, we will be adding one extra step to the rescue process. So if I call the insurance, they will try to find what is the emergency number in Iceland, then they will call to the emergency number, then this emergency number will call the helicopter. So rather, we like to play it safe. We call the helicopter arrives in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, picks you up, you are in Reykjavik, your life is safe. If this is not clear, please let us know. We will explain again. We can just have a conversation via email or via WhatsApp or via phone call, and we are happy to clarify things. Okay. But of course, and just to leave you with a good feeling, we're going to be taking care of you. It's going to be two guides on the group. We're just going to be watching you all the time and just making sure that nothing happens. But hey, shit happens, you might have something brewing inside you. And if that happens, it's always to be 100% covered and not to have the most expensive holidays on your life because of a little mistake. All right. If you have more questions, we are going to go through the Q&A. And of course, if these questions pop over the following few days, you're very, very welcome to just send us an email to info@amarok.is or a WhatsApp message or call us and we can just solve these questions. All right. So let's see if you folks have left a lot of questions or not. I think we only have two. Can we leave an extra bag at your base camp before we leave? So ideally, this would be perfect. However, we have drivers coming in and out from the base camp. So we cannot be responsible of what happens to the things that you leave in Reykjavik. Okay. So for this, normally what we recommend is that you contact your hotel where you're staying before the trip and after the trip and check with them, hey, may I leave a bag in the hotel? They normally have this kind of like secure room uh, for you to just leave the luggage, the extra luggage that you can have. And if they don't, there are many services in Reykjavik that you can use. One is called luggage lockers, and those are lockers that you can rent per day. And in June, it will be the start of the high season, so the prices will not be as high as they are now in July and August. So it's good to just have that option in case in case you want to leave something, okay, and your hotel doesn't leave anything or doesn't allow you to leave anything with them. Um, and then we have another question that says, how heavy duty do hiking shoes need to be? I am considering using waterproof cross trainers, which are lighter and I thought quicker to dry out. I'm also on a broader 2.5 month trip and a multifunctional shoe would be ideal. If that works for you, go ahead with that. You need to make sure that they are good, that they have a very good grip for the time that we are just hiking on the coastline. We might find some algae, so it might be slippery. They need to have a good grip also if we go up in the mountains and there's still a little bit of ice or snow. Okay. So if that happens, it's always good to have shoes that have a good grip. And finally, that they are waterproof. Please, that is the most important thing. You don't want to start the trip or the day with wet shoes and finish the day with even wetter feet. Okay, so it's very, very important. If those cross trainers work for you, go ahead with them and you'll be fine. Personally, I always like to recommend that if they protect your ankle, that's always good, because if we are going downhill or uphill and then you're just taking pictures and you get distracted and then your ankle gets a little bit twisted, you're going to be a little bit annoyed for the rest of the day, or hopefully not for the rest of the trip. But if you have boots or some kind of footwear that at least holds your ankle, that's always a good idea. But if you feel like cross trainers would do the job, good. First of all, thank you very much for joining today. We are very, very much looking forward to seeing you in June. The captain, the first mate, the whole crew, it's very, very excited for this trip, and we can wait to share this experience with you all. So, very, very excited. See you soon. See you in 7 weeks, as Rod said. That's a very specific. I didn't realize that it was 7 weeks. So that's good. That's good. Again, if you folks have any questions, remember that we are very approachable, very easygoing, and you can talk to us either on email, WhatsApp, or by phone call. So please feel free to send us any questions that you may have about the trip. And we hope that this meeting has worked for you and that you have enjoyed it, and hopefully it has given you a lot of good vibes for the trip that you are about to embark in.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today and talking about this journey in Hornstrandir. So see you soon in June and have a nice time until there. Thank you so much.